All right, so this is that second video. Evidently, when I said in the last one that was going to be the last video, I was wrong. So here we are to kind of finish this off. So like I said at the end there, we're talking about kind of the purpose and strategies of my goals and then ultimately my learners' goals. And it's, that emphasis on those communication skills, but also on the reflective skills, which is something that was also talked about in that paper that I had mentioned before. So reflecting on how am I communicating? Am I, making a statement that is supported with data? Am I discussing the why behind it? So rather than just blindly typing out, here's the findings, actually putting some thought into, am I saying something that is coherent? Does it make sense and is it supported? And then also having that reflective piece at the end of all of it where we can go back and say, here's what I originally thought, here's how I've tweaked my thinking, and here's kind of how I'm growing as a learner. So all of that not only works on those 21st century skills, but will also get them to understand the content on a deeper level. So I really do think that this is going to be a positive addition and a good alternative to that post-lab questionnaire that I've been doing. So moving on then to the assessment. So I think I am going to try this for one marking period to start. So we do have two marking periods that make up one semester. And if it goes well in that first marking period, then I'm obviously going to extend it to the entire semester. But I'll kind of see at the end of the marking period, is this really doing what I want it to do? And one question that's still kind of remaining for me right now is in that reflective piece. So right now what I'm going to have is that each group is going to have their own Google site. For me to have 42 different Google sites, that is not reasonable. That's not manageable. So we typically have groups of 3 to 4. So each group will run their own Google site. But when we do the reflective pieces, I don't know how I'm going to do that yet because, theoretically, this is the group site. Therefore, it would be a reflection to, hey, here's what we presented. Here's how we've tweaked our thinking. But ultimately, I do want to get to how is the individual changing? So that's going to be something that may have to be a different activity, that may be a one-on-one conversation, but that is still a question that's remaining because I don't think that this blog is going to be suitable to individuals as it is going to be, the group dynamic. So what I'm then going to obviously look at the outcomes, are their communication skills improving? And I do a lot, from unit 1 all the way to the end, and I have different ways that I assess that. So are they improving? Is the reflective element showing an overall improvement? And is the quality of their conclusions getting better? Because typically at the beginning, the quality of their conclusions is very choppy. They tend to have the pieces that I ask for, but it's choppy. It's not always flowing and coherent, but we get better and better with that by the end. But by the end, then I would be looking, okay, are we really using the data? And then are we using the conceptual pieces that we've now learned throughout our time together? How is that being implemented? But then there's still that overall remaining question is, how will other physics classes become involved? How are we going to reach out to that bigger community? Is it going to be something where they put a question in a Google form that people then can answer? I'm not quite sure yet. I do think that is a neat way to do it. But like I said, that is something that I'm going to bring up to them and say, hey, this is going to be an element to this. How do you want to do it? And I think I'm going to be really surprised by some of the things that they come up with because they got a lot of great ideas. And as we know, especially from this course, a community of brains is always better than one. So I think they're going to come up with a lot of really good ideas for that. So then some problems that may arise, obviously I've just, spoken about 2 of those, but how will parents react to the blogs being created? And to be honest, based off of how they have enjoyed the Instagram account that the school has, I do think they are going to welcome this. I also think they're going to really like being able to see what their students are doing in class, and they're going to be able to see it not just in like a singular picture, but also, hey, here's like the product that my student or that, yeah, that my child is producing, here's their writing skills. And I think it's going to give them a little bit more to look at than just a picture on Instagram would. But obviously, one thing that we need to be aware of is students who cannot be photographed. So that is something that's very easy to get that form back for. And then obviously, I can monitor to make sure that a student who can't be photographed does not appear on a site. So how am I going to keep track of all the sites? Like I said, there's no way that this could be individual, especially if I do this in honors, AP, and college prep. I can't go through all of these. Like that's not a reasonable amount. That's not reasonable for my time. So, but I will, like I said, it is going to be like per group is going to have a site. So now we have 4 or 5 sites for one class for me to manage, which is completely fine. And I do think I'll have it in kind of like a working Google document that has a link to all of the sites. That could be something that is always posted at the top of our weekly checklist, so that it's really easy to access for me and the students. So I think more Google functions will be helpful there. And then again, the problem still remains, how are we going to connect with other classrooms? And I think students are going to be really good about saying, hey, we can follow these Instagram accounts, we can reach out. Like for instance, we could also find other Google sites. Like there's this AP Physics one. We could find other Google sites that are currently being used by other teachers, reach out to those other teachers, say, hey, can we collaborate together? They may do it in a TikTok format. Now, again, obviously they're going to formulate all these ideas. I'm going to make sure that we connect to the larger community in a safe way. So a lot of student drive here, but which is wonderful. That's what we want. And I really do think that this is going to help with that overall 21st century skill of being able to communicate effectively in the written form. And then I do think if we add in video elements, that's going to help with the verbal form. But again, ultimately, I do have some other ways that we're doing the verbal in the classroom, but I think this is really going to help with the written. So I'm pretty excited about this. I'm not going to start it this semester, but I do think I'm going to start it in the spring semester. So looking forward to that. And thank you very much for your time. I enjoyed reading over everybody else's stuff throughout this class, and have a good rest of your school year.